The Legendary Mythic Remix Banner for February is out now. We have new remix buffs and refines for both Hrid and Eir. I've gone over them in my update 6.2 refines video, so if you want more detailed info, you can watch that. Today we'll be briefly reiterating the important parts of Hrid and Eir's new skills, but afterwards we're going to cover the 6 other units on this banner. In addition to the 6% focus rate with no pretty breakers, this banner can be sparked if any of these units interest you. First up, Legendary Hrid is a Sword Cavalier with some min-max stats. His sword got a refine, and Hrid still keeps his Omni Breaker effect against foes with penalties on them. In addition, he can inflict -10 attack and defense, and if the foe has attack and defense field buffs, Hrid will inflict in-combat debuffs to counteract them, sort of acting like a low attack and defense skill. His Freezing Seal B skill has been upgraded and it now inflicts -7 attack and defense and guard on the lowest res foe, while also spreading these same debuffs in a 2-space AoE around the target. The original Freezing Seal used to inflict attack and speed debuffs, but speed doesn't help Hrid that much with his super low base speed. That's been changed to defense debuffs, and adding the guard status is super awesome for Hrid and his team. Like Gunthrow, Freezing Seal 2 has an AoE which makes more targets for Hrid to take advantage of with his sword. Relatively straightforward upgrades, and Hrid's gonna do similar things as before. For his remix buffs, he also got attack and defense menace, which is fantastic. In case Freezing Seal doesn't hit everyone, if someone is in Hrid's attack range, he can debuff them, which will proc his Omnibreaker effect. It's another tool to give Hrid a target to focus on. Generally speaking, Hrid's base kit is still pretty solid for PvE content. Distant counter for enemy phase power, and attack and defense menace adds some player phase potency. If Hrid can land his debuffs, he is very happy, but that may not always happen, so bringing extra debuffing support doesn't hurt. If Hrid is by himself, a solo Sacred Seal is fine, and he can also use it in the A slot as well. Catch skills can also work, especially with his debuffs, and Sturdy Surge is an option I forgot to mention in the refine video. Another good seal is Heavy Blade, and that could go in the A slot if you want, with some cooldown that can help Hrid get to Aether faster, or you could utilize Gale Force for extra movement. One unfortunate downside to Freezing Seal 2 is that Hrid loses out on running the fun Cavalry B skills. If you can supply debuffs elsewhere, you can run Flow Guard or a Near Trace Kanto skill. Both would be pretty fun with Hrid's refined, but you need those debuffs active and you would no longer get that big AoE guard status from Freezing Seal. Overall, Hrid can be a fun unit, but suffers from any kind of follow-up skills. His low base speed means he probably loses speed checks when follow-up skills clash with his Omnibreaker effect, and that does suck a lot against stronger PvP units. I don't think he is in a must-use situation, but he's quite fun with his new buffs. I actually got both Hrid and Eir's refines. I decided to test him out against the 4 available Legendary/Mythic Eir maps on Abyssal difficulty, and I got some pretty good results with my basic non-merged copies. If you want to see Hrid and Eir in action against some PvE units, I'll post my gameplay shortly after this video goes live. I'll have links available once it's ready. Speaking of which, let's talk about Eir. She is our first Mythic hero to receive a remix, and her Sparkling Boost C skill is now Sparkling Boost Plus. It doubles its healing effect, healing 20 HP to the most damaged ally each turn, and Eir now grants +5 res to any ally if they are healthy. Super simple buff, but honestly pretty nice. This further helps Eir act as a makeshift healer, and in Aether raids, the +5 res is going to stack with the +5 via her Mythic Light Blessing. For Eir's refine, Lyfjaberg now gives her +8 to all stats, and she can get a follow prevention plus guard on both phases. Eir gets extra attack and res based on her current HP each fight, and she has a 7 HP AoE healing effect after combat, including on herself. So, Eir's refine is very hit or miss depending on the player. For the Aether Raids Air Force strats, this refine sucks. It gives Eir more combat power, but she heals instead of taking recoil damage, which is bad for Wings of Mercy chaining. The refine is a combat focused one, which can let Eir fight mages better, especially the slower ones. However, Eir can still be overpowered since she does not receive the extra stats from Mythic Blessings, and for that reason, some do not like using her to actually fight in Aether Raids itself. Her super low physical bulk is another downside, since any archer or far-safe tank will just murder her. For those that do not need Eir to fight, you can just take Sparkling Boost Plus and continue as before. Some like to use Eir with the Tamari Plus Dagger, which grants debuffs for her team. You could just go full support build with things like Rally buffs, Link B skills, or a Sacred Seal like Distant Guard. As to where Eir's new refine does shine, I believe it's actually very solid in other general content. I feel like the refine adds a very noticeable increase in Eir's damage output, and she got Attack and Res Unity as a new skill to combat mages or dragons even better. The healing of Mystic Boost can combo with the refine, and the Sacred Seal slot can stack for more res or speed. In my clears, I used Eir with Blade Session for extra firepower, and with some attack and speed buffs, she was doing just fine against the abyssal enemies. If you did want Eir to actually kill stuff, you could go more aggressive with catch 4 or rain C skills. I think Sparkling Boost is fantastic, but if you don't want the healing for whatever reason, then you could slot in another C skill like Joint Drive Res. In the end, everyone gets Eir for free, so no need to summon her here. If you want to see Lyfjaberg in action, again I have gameplay with Eir and Hrid's new kits against the Abyssal maps. Eir and Hrid actually make a pretty fun team together. Hrid tanks the majority of the enemies and Sparkling Boost just heals him every turn. It's pretty good. Eir can also provide extra debuffs if needed. Like Hrid, I wouldn't say Eir is a must use now by any means, but she is decently fun to play with her extra combat power. If you just like using her for general content, I do think the Refine is worth it. Moving on to the banner, let's talk about skills. In the red group we have Hrid, and even if you don't like him, he is a great unit for foddering. He has Distant Counter, which automatically makes him valuable, and now you can get Attack and Defense Menace as well. He has Attack Smoke if you want, but getting DC plus a Menace skill is just too good to pass up. Joining Hrid is Muspell, which is very ironic. Muspell is a red cavalry dragon who is also very slow but decently bulky. He has Fatal Smoke on his weapon, but Muspell also provides fun buff support with Domain of Flame. Muspell and allies gain bonus damage for 1 hit, depending on an attack versus reg check. He has Rally Up Attack Plus to help in this endeavor. Muspell then has the tier 4 Aether Raid's defense skill for defense and resistance. He's the only one with that skill if you want it, and it's at least more reliable than the offense version. Muspell brings another rare skill in Dragon Wall 3, damage reduction based on res comparisons, and a Dragon Oni B skill. Despite their nation's history, Hrid and Muspell make for one heck of a red pull in terms of fodder. There is a lot of good stuff if you don't need extra copies. Next up is the blue group with Mythic Naga. Like other legendary heroes, a couple mythics have been demoted to the remix pool. Naga will get her remix soon enough, so maybe hold on to her if you get her. She's a blue flying dragon, and Naga's niche is to give allies dragon effectiveness with Divine Fang. That's great if you face dragons like Saros or Dumo, but Naga then gets bonus stats with Divine Breath, depending on how many dragon slaying allies are near her. Stats are fine, but in Aether Raids, Naga doesn't get the Mythic Blessing bonuses. Hopefully her Refine gives her some abilities to keep up, or maybe she's just gonna go more supportive instead of just giving dragon effectiveness. In terms of skill fodder, Naga is pretty disappointing. Aether Raid offense skills are not great due to reliability, and Luna or Cho speed aren't exactly standouts. Even if you don't want Naga, you should save her in hopes the remix gives her a fancy new passive to utilize. I could see her getting something like one of the Dragon Oni B skills. The other blue unit is going to be Nifl. She's a blue cavalry dragon, and with some speed, and Nifl counteracts Muspell's bonus damage with damage reduction. Her Domain of Ice grants nearby allies and herself with 30% damage reduction for 1 hit, along with some speed and res. Nifl can help your damage reduction stacking setups, or just provide a safer area around her team. She has Rally Defense and Res Plus for further buffing. On the offensive side of things, Nifl can inflict the flash status after combat, aka the no counterattack status. If she can survive, Nifl can help your team pile on the enemy safer. For other skills, she brings the tier 4 Aether Raid's defense skill for attack and speed, and low attack and speed 3. Pretty good stuff overall. This blue group could be pretty decent, but it depends on how Naga's remix gets handled. Again, if you do get her, I would hold on to her and wait for her buffs later this year. Moving on to the green group, we have Mythic Yune, another struggling early mythic hero. Yune is a flying green mage who is kind of just outdone by Atri in terms of combat. Yune definitely needs some help, and she'll probably focus harder on debuffing. Her Chaos Name C skill debuffs enemies within 3 columns if Yune has higher res, but the debuff differs based on the foe's highest stat. She has Sabotage Res for further debuffing support. Like Hrid, Yune also gets a follow-up attack against foes with a penalty on them. She actually makes for a nice teammate for Hrid, and I do utilize her in one of my runs. Hopefully Yune just goes wild with the debuffing when her remix comes around. In addition, I hope the remix adds a better fodder skill because attack and res bond and sabotage res are not the rarest skills. They aren't common, but both are on heroic options, and it'd be nice to get a more modern skill to use. Joining Yune is Legendary Hector. This Hector is an axe armor unit, and he has his remix buffs plus refine in hand. Thunder Armance goes very defensive with minus 10 attack and defense, follow prevention, and 40% damage reduction for 1 hit. This pairs nicely with Crafty Fighter for guard and quick repose, plus Hector always has distant counter as a staple. For Osteus Pulse 2, Hector buffs himself and nearby allies with plus 6 defense and res each turn. He also gives everyone times pulse, which is very powerful. However, you must meet the tactics team condition of only 2 or less of each movement type. Being able to give times pulse to non-infantry units opens up some fun strategies, but you have to have the right team on the field. In terms of fodder, Hector is superb with distant counter plus crafty fighter, amazing setup for any army unit. He also has vengeful fighter, but I definitely recommend crafty fighter nowadays. Last group is Colorless with Eir. In terms of fodder, Eir has attack as Unity now, which is quite a rare A skill. Maybe you can give it to someone and set them up with dual Chrom to stack Unity effects. In addition, Mystic Boost is also very rare. It's not the greatest B skill, but it can work on units like Eir who want to stack res and negate adaptive damage. The after combat healing effect is nice as well, but you can just use the Sacred Subversion if that's just all you need. Joining Eir is a fun hero. Fallen Edelgard once again makes a banner appearance. She was recently back for the Fallen Banner bonus rerun in December, I think, and she might be in everyone's hands thanks to A Hero Rises. Jury is still out on the results, but I think Edelgard made it in, and if she makes top 4 in the voting gauntlet, she will be on another banner, which is guaranteed to be insane. A lot of people don't want that to happen though, so if you really want her, this may be the banner to try to get her. If you've played Fae in the past year, you know about this unit. Absolutely game breaking to the point where if you do not bring a counter of some kind, she will wipe the entire team out by herself. Just to list some of the effects she has when transformed: distant counter, Raging Storm's Gale Force action, special fighter, and damage reduction. That doesn't include the insanely min-max stat spread along with extra movement via Armored Stride. You should absolutely keep Fallen Edelgard if you don't have her, but if you do fodder her, her skills are a little niche. Armored Stride is fun and could work for Winter Ephraim, but generally speaking, player phase armors are not that common with save skills in the game now. As for attack and defense ideal 4, it's not bad, but if you get hurt, you need a field buff or status effect to keep it going. Since there is a lot of field buff neutralization going on these days, having a status effect active is the best way to utilize ideal skills consistently. Overall, very interesting colors group. If you want more Eir copies, you have a chance to get instead one of the most broken units in this game's history. Here are the dates for the next reruns for these heroes. Hrid is back in September, and Legendary Eir also got changed to September. Changes can and will happen, so be aware if you're saving for merges. For Naga, she's going to be back in September, and that is probably when her remix is happening. Yune is back in July, which is also probably her remix month. Hector is coming back in May, and Eir is back in July. Next month, currently it looks like the remixes will go to Legendary Azura and Alm. I do not think they're going to shortchange Azura from a Refine, and they threw Grey Waves on an ult, so I am fully expecting something terrifying from her. Alm may also be a scary one since he was pretty dang dangerous back on release. That'll be it for now, and I will have my follow-up gameplay of Eir and Hrid's Refines up later today. If it's ready, you should see it on the end card right here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.